I got a rock chip on the front fender on the 2023 Street Glide ST. Guys, my name is Rick and this is the HDVIBE channel. Today's video is going to be different than any other video that I've ever put out. And why do I say that? Well, in today's video, I have no idea how this is going to come out or if I can even repair that chip on my front fender. So my options were take a little bit of my knowledge, but I have no paint or no bodywork experience, and try to touch this up, or I checked with my Harley Davidson dealership and that fender for the ST is about $600. So guys, I'm gonna give this a try. Hang with me, see if I can do this, and maybe the process I go through will work and maybe it won't. And we'll get into all that right after this. Before we get too much farther in the video, I ask if you get some value out of this video, give it a thumbs up, or if you just get some entertainment out of it, give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, subscribe to the channel right down here if you haven't done so already. When you do subscribe for the first time, leave a comment down below saying I subscribe so I can personally reach out and thank you for supporting the channel. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon and select all so you do get notified every time I do put out new content. So now let's see if I can fix this rock chip with a little bit of knowledge and a few products. And well, we'll see if my skills on touch-up is actually going to do the trick. So again, guys, first time I'm ever doing this, and I'm just going to use a little bit of common sense and some practical knowledge that I've kind of looked and seen out on the YouTube interwebs. So what we first probably need to do is, obviously I need to clean that fender off and get all the dirt off. So I'm going to use this sprayway cleaner. I did do a video on this a long time ago. This is one of my favorite kind of waterless washes. So I'm going to go ahead and spray that down. This stuff will foam and hopefully get a lot of that dirt off there. And then after we do that, I'm actually going to take a little bit of rubbing alcohol, put that on a microfiber, and kind of wipe that around that area to make sure that there's no wax or dirt or anything in there. I'm also going to look at that chip and see if there's any rust. I don't think there is because this just happened maybe just a couple of weeks ago and I haven't had the bike out in rain since then, so I'm hoping it's pretty clean. But unfortunately, as you can see in this picture right here, that chip is down to the metal. So I need to do something to protect that so that it doesn't begin to rust. And then once it starts to rust, that paint could start bubbling across that whole fender. And then I will be in the situation where I have to spend probably $600 or so to get that fender replaced. Now, after I've gotten it all cleaned up, and I kind of walk you through what I'm going to try to do here, I am hoping this works. But I also went on the search for some touch-up paint. And what I came across was this from Advanblack, and this is not a sponsored video. I ordered this. I think this is like $19.99. I'll put a link down in the description if you're interested. But they have a lot of different colors, and obviously the Street Glide ST is white sand pearl, so they have white sand pearl paint. And so this touch-up tube actually has like almost like a ball point on the end to get the paint out. And then if you take this white cap off, there's actually a brush in there. But the reason I thought this might be work better for my situation is I just need to get a dab of paint in there. And I want that to be as smooth as possible. So I thought this ballpoint type end might be the best option. And then obviously I've got microfiber towels. And then I've got this cardboard, because what I'm going to do once I get this pen shaken up and I'm ready to begin to put it on the fender, I'm actually going to test it on this cardboard to get the paint flowing a little bit and see how it comes out of that tip to know how much I have to push down to get that paint into that chip. Before I start wiping this down with the sprayway cleaner, I'm going to kind of zoom in. Here's the chip right here, and I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but it is down to the bare metal, which obviously we need to get that covered. And looking at it, I don't think there's any rust in there at all, but I'm going to take a closer look at that, and if there is a little bit of rust, I may take a pick or something and try to get that rust out of there so that the paint adheres as best as possible. Again, my favorite glass cleaner, all over bike cleaner, this sprayway glass cleaner, no ammonia, so I can use this really on any part of the bike, and it's actually really good for getting bugs off the bike. It just eats through them. But I'm gonna go ahead and spray this on. I'm gonna shake it up a little bit, spray that onto the fender, and as you can see, it kind of foams up. So it kind of eats whatever dirt, grime, as well as any bugs off of that fender to make sure that it's clean. Now that that's foamed up, you can see some areas here, it's kind of eating away at the dirt. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe it down with a clean microfiber. and just make sure we got all the dirt and grime off of this fender before we start to try to repair that chip. The rubbing alcohol I'm going to use, it's a 70% isopropyl. I got this at Walmart. And really what I'm trying to do here is if there's any wax or ceramic coating that I put on this bike over time, and I do spray it down from time to time with the ceramic coating, it's going to get all that wax buildup off there, especially around that chip. Obviously there wouldn't be any ceramic or wax in that chip, but I just want to make sure it's super clean before I start applying that paint. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of that to my microfiber, kind of dab it in there. Then I'm just going to kind of rub this across the fender, primarily in the area where I'm going to be touching up here. So while that alcohol is drying on that fender, we're trying to let that all dry out. Now we're going to go to the touch-up stick. And again, this is Advanblack. It's not a sponsored video. I've never used Advanblack paint before, but they guarantee color match. So I'm hoping it's white sand pearl. It's noted white sand pearl on here. And I think this tube was about $19.99 plus maybe some shipping. So, you know, less than 25 bucks. But what you do need to do is actually shake this thing up, and you'll hear in there's a little ball. So you really need to shake this thing up for about a minute to make sure that paint is all mixed up appropriately. I'm not going to bore you with shaking this up, but I'll come back in just a second after I get this shaken up. So I finished shaking this up for about a minute. So go ahead and pop this cap off. Like I said, it's kind of almost got like a ballpoint pin in there. And then if you twist this top part off, and I'll kind of show you that, it's got a brush in there as well, but I really don't want to use the brush. I think this pin type application is going to work better for this. So to get that kind of flowing, again, you just kind of push down on this, and I can smell that paint. And oh, there we go. We're getting paint coming right out of that front end of that ball. So it's putting out a pretty good amount of paint here. So these dots that it's putting on this cardboard with that pin type applicator looks pretty good. So I think, fingers crossed, we're ready to go ahead and put this white sand pearl touch-up paint on that rock chip and see how this goes. All right, so here goes nothing. We're gonna try this. I'm just gonna lightly press on that ball on the end of this and see how much paint it gets in there. So it is down a little bit, so I'm thinking it's going to take a fair amount, but not a lot. And you kind of want to get this, I think, fairly even or maybe even slightly above there, because as that paint dries, my understanding is it will actually shrink up a little bit. So I want to get a little bit more on there, but I don't want to get a lot so it gets all over the rest of the fender. So here goes nothing. Well, that was a little bit more than I had anticipated. So I might give this another try. I'm going to wipe this down with some alcohol, get that out of there, and try to do it a little bit lighter on the second time. So I went ahead and wiped that all off here, and hopefully we can get just a little bit less paint on the second try here, because that came out pretty quick. So I'm just going to lightly touch it, round 2. And that seems to be working better. I'm gonna let this dry and see if that shrinks up. Again, the main thing that I'm trying to do here is just to get that filled in so that I don't get this thing to start rusting. And then I guess if, in the end of the day, if it's a little bit outside of there, I could probably put a little bit of polishing compound on there and clean that up. All right, guys, so we are down to the moment of truth. I didn't want you guys to be watching paint dry, literally. So now I'm gonna take a look at this, and I'm actually looking at it from here with the light. Now I can see where I touch this up just a little bit. It probably has sunk down a little bit. It's dried probably about 15 minutes now. What I'm gonna do now is let you guys take a look at this and see if this was a success or did I really fail at this? I think it's okay. It's definitely not going to be 100%, and anytime you do any of these touch-ups, they're not going to be 100%. I probably, could do some more work on this, but let's take a look at this and see what we got. So here's a view from a distance. So obviously you can't see that dot any longer on the front of that fender. So now let's kind of get a little bit closer here and see how this looks. So I'm going to kind of scan from the mid of the fender right back up here to the front where that touch-up happened, and it's right in there. And there's a little bit of glare from the light, so I'm going to kind of come over this way and let you guys look at it. I think it's pretty good. Right there you can kind of see where I touched that up, but if you kind of get back, I mean, it blends in pretty well, and for a real amateur, I think not too bad. So I think it came out not too bad. Again, for an amateur, I had no idea what the result was going to be because I've never touched anything up on a car or a motorcycle, and really this is the first time since I've owned a Harley Davidson since 2016 that I've actually had a chip on my fender. On my other bike, the Street Glide CVO, I actually had paint protection put on that bike, which has protected that paint greatly, and I have no chips on that. And as a matter of fact, when I got backed into, it bent the front fender, but that paint protection film did not even allow the paint to get scratched. So I did get a new fender out of that, but no scratches on the underneath that paint protection film. I thought about doing that on the Street Glide ST, but I didn't do it. And honestly, I got that chip, and really my forks are starting to get chipped down here, this black. One of the downsides, in my opinion, of having these black forks, I don't know if they're powder coated, but it's starting to chip up from rocks hitting down here. So I'll probably have to do something with that in the not too distant future to make sure that that doesn't start rusting. But overall, I mean, I think this Advanblack, again, not sponsored, I bought this with my own money. This little touch-up pen worked pretty well, and I think the paint is blended in pretty darn good, and I think this will do the trick in terms of protecting that fender from getting any rust in it. So guys, with that, I want to leave you with this thought. Life is short. Get out and ride the bike. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.